Hi, I'm Kep Kepner CPA here in Dallas. I'm talking today about a new client of ours that's going through an audit. And one of the things the IRS auditor noticed is that in the truck and car expense category of expenses, all that was there were the car payments. Now the reality is that doesn't tell anybody what those expenses are, because really if the auto is a personal vehicle that's being used for business, the part that's deductible is the use of that vehicle during the time that it was used for that business. It's not the car payment. So the reality is they were recording something as an expense that wasn't really an expense. Now we have an opportunity to prove that the vehicles during this time were being used for business, and we have information from the taxpayer that they drove certain places, drove a certain amount of miles, and we have some evidence that that's what they did. So it's not all lost because we know how to get around that sort of thing. But the reality is an expense is the business use of something or the business outlay of cash for something related to the business. It's not paying a car payment. So it's a little different if it's a lease car that's owned by the company particularly, then that is a company expense. But still, as a taxpayer, if you got some personal use of a company vehicle, that's really not a business expense. Even the full lease payment on your lease car for the business isn't fully that if you use it partially for personal use. So you have to have some records and you have to be able to defend it. One of the ways that I teach people to do that is to say, look, make believe that you work for General Motors. General Motors is not just going to write you a check every month for your car payment. Okay, if they're going to pay you mileage, they expect you to report the miles to them. If they're going to give you a car allowance, they're actually going to add it to your W-2 and let you try to take those expenses on your personal return. So if you're a business owner, try to make believe that you're actually working for some large company, and think about the kinds of reporting you'll have to give them to allow them to pay you for your services or your expenses. They're not going to reimburse you for office supplies unless you give them a receipt. They're not going to pay you for travel unless you give them a copy of your airline ticket. They're not going to pay you for entertainment unless you provide receipts. So you need to think about that and put yourself in the same position, because if somebody asks for receipts, you ought to have those. If you have any question about that, you can give us a call because we'll be glad to help you. Thanks.